Welcome back to the Wealth Witches podcast. I'm your host, Katelyn Magnuson, and today we have a guest that I am so excited for. Danielle McCleerey is a wealth energetics and quantum business coach, host of On the Daily podcast, multiple six-figure entrepreneur, and the co-founder and president of Hype You Media LLC. Using human design and various energetic strategies, she helps business owners scale sustainably in a way that aligns with a full body fuck yes. Trained in human design, trauma healing, astrology, Reiki, meditation, and wealth energetics, Danielle has used these modalities to recover from burnout and build a thriving career. After leaving SoulCycle following a decade-long tenure, she gained clarity on her vision and boundaries. Since 2019, she has built three multi six-figure businesses, one in network marketing, one in coaching, and a top-rated podcast approaching 250,000 downloads. Danielle is passionate about helping others create businesses that feel like a full body yes, rather than being trapped in traditional career expectations. With her education and experience, she provides the tools necessary to scale a massive, sustainable, and fulfilling business using intuition and human design. Danielle, I'm so excited and I'm really looking forward to our chat today. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited.
So we're going to chit chat all about human design and astrology and like how to use that in business. And I'm curious too about the wealth energetic side of things, but you and I are going to chat about like nervous system regulation. Like all of those are near and dear to my heart. I'm definitely a baby in the human design realm, but I
Okay.
feel a little bit more educated in the others. So
Yeah.
I would
And they're all
love to
connected. That's
hear.
the best part. So
That's what I keep kind of coming back to, right? Is like, I feel like every little bit that I learn is just sort of uncovering more about myself and giving myself more permission to show up as who I am in the
yeah,
most fully expressed version of myself, which has coincided with like unmasking autism, like all of these things, right? That just
yeah,
kind of play along as
yeah,
I go. So I would
yeah.
love to hear just what are you doing? What are you excited about right now?
I'm excited about a lot of things right now. The North Node just like shifted into Pisces this year, and I am actually a natal North Node Pisces.
Mhm.
So now that and we're recording, it's the first day of Pisces season. So this is a good day. I'm like very playful right now. I'm very tapped into art and my own creative pursuits. I grew up a professional dancer and I also I got a degree in acting. I have a master's in acting. And so I've been a performer in the arts my whole life. And I'm just really having fun exploring how to kind of bring all of those things together right now. I think it's like, I mean, you know this, when you build a business, when you build anything, there's a period of time where it needs to be very strategic and you have to focus on those things. But at the end of the day, I'm such a creative soul that it feels really good to be like intuitively tapping back into that and feeling that from the collective. I think that's pretty standard energy for the whole collective right now because the North Node has shifted. So yeah, I'm playing right now. Got a couple big creative projects that'll launch later this year that I've been working on and just really tapping into the playful side of me lately.
I love that. I love that. I've been playing a lot. That's
Yeah.
I try to
Yeah.
balance play, especially this time of year coming into tax season and peak season and all of that. It can be really easy, I feel like, to get bogged down with it all. So
Yeah, this is the closing of
yes,
the zodiac year. So I
yes,
was just telling my podcast production team before we started recording, I was like, this is you're either feeling very surrendered into your play right now, or you're feeling burnt out because you've been trying to hold a death grip on things. And, you know, I think anytime Pisces seasons come back around, especially now, because it's also coinciding with the North Node return, it's like no one really has a choice. Like you have to surrender right now. And
right.
it's less painful for others, for some than it is for others, but it's no less. I think it's like so important. And it's definitely I think the collective breath of fresh air that we all need. So
Absolutely. I love that. I feel like it's the vibe of like, are you going willingly or are you going kind of kicking and screaming because you're burnt out and you don't have another choice into like needing to do this? You're
yeah.
still going to get there either way, but how are
Yeah.
we diving into it? I feel like as someone that grew up in the age of like cosmopolitan astrology, right? Like you're reading your
Same.
horoscope and yeah, you're like checking that and trying to figure it all out and like, little baby teenager navigating it all. I feel like it gave astrology specifically kind of a a bad rap or like, some sort of kitschy, like whatever.
Yeah.
And as someone that has really, I've dived a lot into my own personal astrology over the last few years, it has been really helpful for me to sort of provide not only like where did I come from and like who I am as a human when it comes to my identity, but what am I looking forward to and like how am I working with my astrology moving forward, right? Both in my
Hmm.
business and my personal life. And instead of, kind of like you were saying, you're like, you're tapping into the play, or maybe you're burnt out. I feel like if you're not working with your astrology and you're working against it, you can still be successful, you can still do things, but it's gonna be, you're constantly like butting up against all of those edges and making it, you're like hitting every step on the way down instead of
Right.
walking down the steps. That's been like my personal experience, but I would love to know your thoughts with human design, with astrology, with wealth energetics. How does that all play together? If maybe someone that's listening is like, yeah, I'm interested and I've been kind of dabbling a little bit here, but like, how do I really bring this full circle?
Yeah, that's such a good question. There's so many people that'll say like, "Oh, I love astrology, but like, I don't have time to like look at it for business because like I'm trying to make money here." And I think what I really always want people to understand is that everything is connected, right? So whether we're talking about human design or we're talking about astrology or we're talking about business or we're talking about your nervous system, we're talking about your subconscious mind and the beliefs that you carry, the color of the lens in which you view the world with, they're all the same thing. And
Hmm.
the way that I kind of ask people to look at it is, the past, if we're looking at our past, that includes our programming, our conditioning, what was told to us, the trauma we've endured, anything that's shaped us into the rose colored glasses that we view the world with today, right? That's
Hmm.
the past. Then we have the maps, right? And it's like if you and I were going to go on a road trip together, there's weather, there's that hill that we have to hit that has like chains on it, or that we have to put chains on
Right.
our car. And then there's going to be a snowstorm. And all of these things are going to happen whether or not we look at the weather, whether or not we look at a map, they're there. And the way that I look at things like systems like human design, astrology, numerology is one of them. Like Meyer-Briggs, all of these systems for like understanding ourselves, these are our maps, right? So I believe, and whether you or your listeners believe this, like it's fine. Like we don't all need to think that we originated from the same place. But I always think like before we came into this human existence, we were souls. And every time we come back in, it's like a different level of the video game. And
Hmm.
you leave the video game and you go, okay, like what went well, what didn't, what do I want to experience in the next one? So we kind of like, I think our soul kind of like maps out like what we want to do in this life, the lessons that we are going to come here to learn, the things we're going to come here to experience, the heartbreak we're going to have, the wins, the losses, all of it. And all of that is kind of imprinted into things like our astrology, into our human design. These are the blueprints for this life. And as soon as we get here, it's immediately we start forgetting, right? The programming sets in and we start, forgetting all these things. But what these systems get to act as is that map for us to get back. It's the pathway back to who we came here to be, the lessons that we
Hmm.
came here to learn, and everything we came here to experience. And then we have like the vehicles that we're going to drive to get there. And this is where somatic work comes in, right? So this is your yoga, your meditation, your breath work, your EFT, your shaking, your rituals, your morning meditation, your evening breath work, your journaling. These are the vehicles that are going to help you navigate the map more effectively. And then once we've reworked the past, we've unlearned the things that we came here to unlearn using both the map and the vehicle. Well, then we can look to the future. And that's what kind of business do we want to run? What kind of relationships do we want to have? What kind of people do we want to associate with? What kind of like future do we want for ourselves just in general? What are our priorities? What's our life context? And then you can filter every decision, every opportunity through the lens of that life context. So those four pillars are like what I teach my clients. I have a
Hmm.
program where like we work through all four of these pillars. And it really does show like everything is connected. Like for me, it's like when people are like, "Oh, I don't really believe it." I mean, this is the Wealth Witches podcast, so I assume nobody
Right.
listening to this doesn't believe in this. So I think I'm safe. But people will be like, "I don't really believe in spirituality." I'm like, "Babe, it's not religion." It's a
Yeah.
frequency. You're either tuned in or you're not. Like I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I look at it. And I think, whether you're a person of faith, like God is, who you pray to, or it's the universe or it's source, like whatever you call it, these systems like human design and astrology are really just the map back to being and existing as exactly who God, source, universe, your higher self, whatever you call it, intended for you to be. So I think there's beauty in it. And I think there's something to be found no matter what background or, like, I guess, what school of teaching you come from.
That was a really easy way for me to visualize those four pillars and
Yeah.
really like put it together for how it all works together. That's how I see it, but it was just so much more like well articulated.
Well, we spent a long time
Yeah,
coming up with that roadmap. So
I can
I'm
imagine.
glad it landed.
Yeah, no, it does. It really makes it significantly. I feel like it would make it clear for someone too who is just like at the beginning of their journey and kind of interested in like why should I be pursuing this further? Well, because baby, like we're gonna lay out how all of this works together so you can chart your best journey for yourself with the proper vehicle that you need and the preparations that you need. Could you still
Totally.
get
Well,
from A to Z? Yes, but can we like make it a little more enjoyable?
enjoyable, but also like more efficient, It's like I always tell people, like, if you've been in therapy, and I love therapy. I was in therapy for divorce. Love therapy. Love it. And if you've been in therapy for 10 years talking about the same thing, you're being ripped off. Like, you're being ripped off, you're being scammed. Like, there should be a resolve. There should be a way. And it's like, for me, I can look at somebody's astrology chart and I can be like, based on what your moon sign is, I can deduce probably the relationship you have with your mom. Like, for me, for example, I'm a Sagittarius moon. The relationship with my mom, very up and down, very rocky. A lot of abandonment wounds, usually with a Sagittarius moon, with Sagittarius placements in general. There's some abandonment wounds, which lead to visibility wounds. And it's like, oh, okay, that's the past. You have these visibility wounds. Where did those come from? Where did those start? Okay, great. Well, based on your chart, here's your map. This is who you're
Hmm.
actually meant to be. These are the things you're going to have to navigate. And if you're willing and you're willing to navigate those things, well, then here's these modalities like breathwork meditation that you can use to filter these things through the body. And I think a lot of people cerebrally understand
Hmm.
their path. They cerebrally understand, oh yeah, I'm burnt out, or oh yeah, I'm like, heels in the ground, trying really hard to like force my life. And I know cerebrally I don't want to do that, but like
Hmm.
somatically, they actually have no idea how to move those things through the body, because the body is what your subconscious controls 95% of your body. So I think human design and astrology, numerology, I'm not a master in numerology, but I'll include it in the group. It's
Yeah.
like these things just give you, it's what you said. It's like you can go, you're going to get there, but do you want to get there quicker? Do you want to get
Yeah.
there more efficiently? Because that's how I think. I've said it a lot. I say I don't think people have any business teaching business unless you have an understanding of human design and astrology, because it's the new paradigm, like we are not in the Pluto and Capricorn era anymore. We're in
Yeah.
Pluto and
No, that's a really
Aquarius.
hot take.
I
Yeah.
think that you need to understand people's individuality,
Hmm.
and the best way to do that is through systems like human design and astrology.
Yeah. I do feel collectively we've been kind of moving more and more and more that direction. And like, it's really interesting to me to see, I hate to use like collective awakening as the term, but like
No, but
just
that's what it is.
so much more interest in like I look at it very much as part of like how are we working holistically, right?
Totally.
Instead of siloing or like living in this really, patriarchal, like masculine way of like, well, you do X and then Y and then Z and then it's exactly
Yep.
this. And it doesn't take, any of the external factors into play or
Right.
anything else that's going on. And so it's
Right.
as someone who works with a lot of like queer, neurodivergent, a lot of like women owned businesses. Like it is so interesting to me to be working more and more and leaning more and more into sort of that side and bringing that into business because I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it because for me, being in accounting felt very like you do things this way. And it
Mm.
kept coming up like over the last 2 years, it's been really interesting for me to incorporate a lot more of the woo and the wealth witches and the rebranding and everything that has come out over the last year and a half, 2 years,
Yeah.
because it felt vulnerable and uncomfortable. Like, what is everyone going to think? And I'm, in this spot of doing this very left brained, numbers business, but it got to the point where it was more painful to not combine them because this is what I'm doing in my private life. And then I'm showing
Right.
up publicly with a third of my personality and a third
Right.
of like the values that I espouse. And so it felt disingenuous, and it's been really well received after being
Yeah.
so nervous about it because I feel like
Yeah.
so many more people are interested. So out of
Yeah.
curiosity, if you're comfortable sharing, I'd be really interested in kind of what your own framework has looked like just for yourself of,
Hmm.
you shared a little bit about, the like visibility wounds and all of that, but you know are you someone, I'm assuming your practice has evolved over the years, but what was the gateway drug for you?
Yeah.
And what does your daily practice look like now, or your weekly practice look like now?
Yeah. I mean, my gateway, I would say like my initiation was my dad dying. That happened in 2021. I mean, listen, I was the girl in high school who was like slinging astrology readings behind the girls' bathroom at lunch. So I've done astrology my whole life. Human design, I was super skeptical of when I first heard about it. My good friend, Lindsay Simsick, who is co-host of the podcast Almost 30, she first introduced me to human design. I was like, oh no, I'm an astrology girl. Like, very much like, no. And then it wasn't for a few years later, and this was probably in my 20s. At some point, I had a reading where I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And it opened my eyes. But then I was like, oh, this is just like, it goes deeper, you know? And then I got into gene keys, and
Yeah.
then I got into all these other things. And I think for a while, these things were operating around me, but I wasn't consciously working them into the way that I did my life. Subconsciously they were, I have Jupiter in Aries in the sixth house. So like fitness and stuff is always how I've like shown up and how I've gotten like a lot of attention and, discipline in my daily life. So I taught SoulCycle for 10 years and
Right.
I didn't think about it then. I wasn't like putting two and two together. I was just a 24-year-old who was like, I gotta make it. I gotta figure it out. And like hustle, 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 be available, be accessible 24/7. Like say yes, say yes, say yes. Because at that point, I had grown up I'm a firstborn daughter, which so many of us are. I was a firstborn daughter. I, again, like had a pretty rocky relationship with my mom as a kid, and not because I was a bad kid. Like I just have a mouth on me, and I was always very confident and very sure of who I was. And that really did not work with my mom. And I think, I love my mom very much. She's doing the best she can with the resources she has. And damn, wish she had more. But she kicked me out when I was like 14, and I
Mhm.
went to go live with my dad. And that was like a very traumatic experience. Like the whole kicking me out thing was like very traumatic. And it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me because you have one person who, like, because she's coming into life with her own programming and her own wounds and her own stuff that she's not healing. So she's just carrying the pattern on.
Right.
We have 13 generations of trauma living in our DNA at all times. So, and I think, we're the Pluto. How old are you?
30, almost 35,
Yeah,
34
so
right
we're
now.
both the Pluto
Yeah.
and Scorpio generation. So we're
Yeah.
really here to like heal. We're here to heal our generational wounds. That's why we exist. And so, I was always going to be the generational pattern breaker of my family. But when I moved in with my dad was like the opposite. So like you have one parent that like can't ever celebrate me and like my mom was always be the person. Like I was a very good dancer. I started dancing professionally when I was 16. So
Hmm.
my mom would always be like, "Oh, don't tell her she's good. Like it'll go straight to her head," which is like a very common thing I think for parents. Oh, like just it's going to go straight to their head, but I don't think that anybody was thinking about what that was doing to my psyche. And what that was doing to my psyche was like, oh, okay, so in order to get love and praise, I have to like be available. I have to prove myself. I have to always be better. And in some ways that made me very successful, like I'm a shark in business. I'm a shark at making money. The struggle of people figuring out how to make money could never be me. And there's a duality to everything, right? The universal law of duality says that like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So on the other side of that, I am very avoidant, or I have been working on it, very avoidant dismissive, very like keep everyone at an arm's length
Mhm.
because if I hide behind this wall of authentic, I don't actually ever have to be vulnerable with you. And, I got divorced. I got married when I was 20. I got divorced when I was 26. I met my son's dad like a month later. We fell madly in love, had my son. We broke up when Owen was a year old. And like all this time, I'm trying really hard to build a career for myself. I'm trying really hard. I'm trying really hard. That's that's the key. So then my dad died. I mean, this like a lot happened in this time frame, but then
Right.
my son's dad and I broke up, and current wife, she and I were friends before, so like we actually fell in love, and we've been together ever since. But my dad died in 2021, and this man was like my best friend because like where you have a mom that told you not to celebrate, like I could have farted, and my dad would have like told all his friends that it was the coolest thing in the world, right? So
Yeah.
so opposite. So when he died, it really became apparent that I had all these abandonment wounds and I had these
Mhm.
worthiness issues, but I was always able to hide them because I had dad. And so, him dying was really the catalyst for me to heal my visibility wounds. And everyone always is like, for somebody with a Scorpio rising and a Leo midheaven and a Lilith Leo, like you do really well at like being visible and like you do really well at being authentic. And I said, yeah, nothing like your dad dying to push you into who you're meant to
To really be
be.
that catalyst. Yeah.
Yeah. So like at the time, I had built a network marketing business alongside my SoulCycle career, and it was a network marketing in like the wellness industry. So,
Hmm.
I had writers who would take my class and then I could offer them like supplements that I was personally taking and loved. So it
Right.
really worked out well, but I carried my same wounds into both of those careers. So be accessible and available 24/7. My worth is tied to my validation. I'm a generator in human design. I'm supposed to like a full body yes or no, but
Hmm.
most generators, if we come with this programming that I'm talking about, which a lot of us do, we don't even know what a full body yes is because our full body yes is actually tied to the praise we receive for saying yes. It's not actually tied to our yes. So, and it's like I tell everybody all the time, if I could have had an IV of the feeling I got when I was praised for like being busy, oh, I would have taken that intravenously all day long. It was a drug to me. So
Hmm.
when my dad died, it really like it caused the most epic burnout. I burnt down those two careers, which were both
Hmm.
together, each multi six-figure businesses. Totally burnt them to the ground, and really like I had already started my coaching business, but I really like went all in on it. And I said, I will be doing this the way I want to do this from now on. And it has to fit into my life context, which I had figured out at that point was peace and freedom for me and my family. So every single thing I get offered, every opportunity, I filter it through the lens of does this bring me closer or farther away from peace and freedom for me and my family? And if the answer is farther away, it's a no. And it's been working out so far. That was a really long answer to that question,
That was
but
a really great answer. Yeah. Does that for you, for the peace and freedom filter, I'm assuming that that's something that has taken practice to be diligent with because something will come in
100%.
that's, 80% aligned with, and you're like, or like, oh, just
Hmm.
this one time.
Yeah.
What does that process look like for you to just get really clear on it and be able to say yes or no?
Yeah, this will be a good like segue into like how human design affects business. So
Yeah.
generators and manifesting generators, we have a sacral battery. Now, you can be an emotional authority. That's a different thing we can talk about. I personally am a sacral authority. So I have an undefined solar plexus. I am an empath in that way. 100% of my emotions are dictated by what's going on in the world around me. But the right decision for me is always the one that gives me a full body yes. Now, a lot of times, and this happens with astrology, this happens with human design, people will hear about their charts and they'll say, I don't resonate with that. A lot of times, if you don't resonate with your chart, it could be because you have your birth time wrong. That's happened. They're like, I really don't relate to this. And I'm like, and then they come back later and they're like, I was actually born 12 hours later. And I'm like, everything is
Yeah.
different now.
Yeah.
Like
World
we
of
are in a
difference
completely
here.
different world. But for the most part, if you don't relate to your astrology, if you don't relate to your human design, it's because what human design and astrology shows you is who you are meant to be. It's going to tell you where your wounds are. So, like if you look at your Chiron placement, if you look at your undefined human design centers, if you look at your Lilith, it's going to tell you where your wounds are. But it's ultimately a map for who you're meant to be. Depending on how conditioned and programmed you are, you're not going to be operating in that frequency. So I was not. I was, is this a full body? Yes. Yeah, but logically it doesn't make sense. That thought that a lot of generators have, remember, your intuition will never exist in your logic. No matter what, you can have splenic authority, emotional authority, sacral authority, mental, self projected, ego, or reflective if you're a reflector, but it's never going to be logic based. And so if you have that thought of like, oh, this sounds really cool, I want to do this. Oh, but now you're not operating according to your sacral. So the way that this showed up for me for a long time would be, oh, well, this is a perfect example. When I was teaching at SoulCycle, I was
Mhm.
teaching like 12 classes a week. And there were times where I was subbing up to 17 classes a week. And when you teach at a fitness studio like that, you have to ride your bike every class. So my cortisol and my adrenaline were like, my nervous system was so jacked up all the time. I had no sense of nervous system regulation at all. And so people would say, like, do you want to take this class? Do you want to sub this class? Everything in my body was like, no, no, I want to take a nap. but it'll be money. But they need me, but I will be, more people will get to take my class. But maybe the more I try to prove myself, the more valuable I'll be to them. So that
Mhm.
was a perfect example of like, I'm operating outside of my life context, which is peace and freedom for me and my family. And so it does, like you said, it must take practice. It takes a tremendous amount of practice because you may be offered an opportunity that can come with a lot of money, and money is people's biggest downfall because we're conditioned to put it on a pedestal. And when you put money on a pedestal, every decision you make in business is dictated by, will this make me money or will this not? And sometimes, and especially if you're truly tapped into your own authority and your own intuition and your own human design and astrology, you're going to say no to things that in the moment seem like a really good idea. But it's all about like that long term full body yes. So, like,
Mhm.
another example is like, I hate cleaning. I don't enjoy it at all. But I really love an organized and clean workspace. So, in the moment, the full body yes is not cleaning my office, but having a clean office brings me closer to peace and freedom for me and my family. So I have an option. I can either hire a housekeeper who can come to my house
Mhm.
multiple times a week and invest in that so I get my time back, or I can just clean my office. But either of those choices will get me closer to peace and freedom for me and my family. So, like, I have a housekeeper that comes to my house 20 hours a week. She cleans, she
Mhm.
does our dishes, she does our laundry, she makes sure our space is clean. And yeah, we pay her a decent amount of money, but that's an investment into my life context. So it makes it a very easy answer. And I think the more you practice, the more your intuition is going to speak to you. And then making these decisions from, does this bring me closer or farther away? It becomes very easy. But no, if you've been ignoring your intuition your whole life, it's not going to be easy at first. It's going to feel like it's killing you, actually, at first.
Very much, I feel like starting to work out for the first time or getting back into working out after not having, and like those first the week or two of everything, like I know I'd go do daily doubles in high school for sports, and like the first 2 weeks you'd feel like you were dying,
Dying.
like
Yeah.
trying to get out of bed. And I remember having to like physically just kind of like
Oh,
throw
yeah.
myself out of the bed because I
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
like lift myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell week in dance.
Yeah.
First,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, God. It was the worst. It was the
Yeah.
worst. Yeah.
And then you get into it and you're like, oh, okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
The person of 2 weeks ago couldn't do any of this.
Mm-hmm.
How did
Exactly.
you land on peace and freedom for you as being the filters in your life?
I think it's pretty generic. A lot of people are like, I need to figure out my life context. I'm like, use mine if you want to, because it's pretty generic. But it's like, what do I want? I want a regulated nervous system. That's peace. I want to be able to go where I want, do what I want, say yes when I want to say yes, say no when I want to say no. I want to be able to buy what I want to buy without thinking about it. I want to be able to not buy what I don't want without even
Mhm.
thinking about it. I don't want money to ever be a barrier for me. So what is that feeling? That feeling is freedom. So it's general, but it applies to so many things. And then it's also like the more freedom I feel, the more peace I feel, the more inclusive I become of my neighbor, the more empathy I have for other people. Because
Mhm.
and I think we experience this with like the election in America. It's like everybody wants, you have one side saying like everybody needs to care about social issues. Well, right, but they can't. Nobody can care about other people if they're not okay with themselves. If they're not feeling comfortable and safe and regulated and peaceful and free
Mhm.
within themselves, how can we look to the collective, right? So I've always said, I'm like, peace and freedom for me and my family. I mean, listen, I'm a Scorpio rising, so a lot of people are like, all you care about is you. You're so selfish. Like, you are so
I'm also a
cocky.
Scorpio rising, so
You get it. I mean, we're projected on all the time. Like, people hate me for breathing, Like, I had somebody on TikTok last week be like, I'm trying to listen to what you say, but you talk with your hands too much. I'm like, okay.
oh well.
Oh
Yeah.
well. It's one of those things, but it's like, yeah, I get it. I understand how somebody could say that that is like self-serving.
Mhm.
And I think deeper than that. And I think you with a Scorpio rising and a Scorpio Pluto, we have a lot of, I also have Mars in Scorpio in the first house. So
My
like,
Lilith is in Scorpio. Yeah,
oh, you have
there's
a
a
Lilith in the
whole bunch
first.
going on. Yeah.
Yeah, you have Lilith in the first. I have Lilith in the 10th. So like we have similar experiences. And it's like, no, I just know that like everything I do in life is, for the he's, the she's, and the theys, whoever is ready for the work, like let's just get everybody on their own river. Let's just get
Hmm.
everybody really, really tapped into themselves, really, really selfish with their own time and energy, because it's not the definition of selfish we need to change. It's how we associate with it. Like, actually, being selfish with your time and energy is the most selfless you can be in this life. And the more that we can get on our own river without trying to look into other people's rivers, all rivers flow to the same ocean. So, it's like I think that for me, peace and freedom for me and my family keeps me on my own river so that I can be a functioning and effective member of the collective. Where if I'm constantly looking outside of myself, if I'm constantly like, oh, well, let me make sure that that person's okay and let me make sure that this person's okay. Well, now I'm not taking care of myself and I'm not taking care of my family, which defeats the purpose of, it's in the Kabbalah, Elohim, like all of us or none of us. But in order for all of us to rise, we have to be taking care of ourselves. So that's how it's kind of shown up for me in a lot of ways.
Those really resonate with like my personal tenets as well. I think I'm a firm believer of being selfish. People will say like, "Oh, you have to put your oxygen mask on before you can like help others or do things like that." And also at the end of the day, I think you just deserve to be able to have your oxygen mask on. To use that
Right.
example, like you deserve to be cared for and to take care of yourself. And yes,
Yes.
will you show up better in the world? Will you be able to then
Yes.
do other things? Absolutely. But like,
Yes.
I think you deserve to show up as like your most expressed, authentic human self.
Absolutely. And think about how many people, like, you hear that on an airplane every single time, but how many people would not put their own oxygen mask on first? Many,
A
many.
lot. Yeah.
I would say most. I would bet most people wouldn't, because it feels selfish. And we've just demonized that word so much. But I really do think, like, when you get to the point where you can just realize that, like, you're better for other people when you are better for yourself.
Hmm.
And that's the biggest, I think that's the biggest gift that really incorporating human design and astrology into my life has given me, is the ability to like really understand myself so I can be better for others.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you said at the beginning you work with a lot of neurodivergent queer women, and it's like that, these groups, right? We've been conditioned that women have it harder, that if you're queer, you have it harder. But again, I've always believed that those are just labels that, like, when we accept them as like, oh, I'm less than, and I'm going to have to work harder because I'm married to a woman, or because I am a woman, or because I have neurodivergence. Like,
Mhm.
what if actually the whole system that was built around likeness, sameness is actually the problem, and that's actually the system that's crumbling right now. Pluto in
Hmm.
Capricorn was very much that. And we needed that at the time. We needed some more structure. We needed some more like labels, and like everyone has a role and everyone has a thing, because before that it was like Pluto was in Sagittarius, and like I'm a Sag, so like I can speak to this. Like, if you just put like a bunch of Sagittarius energy in charge, like, where is the ground? We are fire levitating across a field, right? So like you needed this like Capricorn energy, this like legacy
Right.
energy to come in and kind of like ugh. But just like everything, it has its time. And now that we've moved into this Aquarian age, my son's an Aquarius. I'm obsessed with Aquariuses. I think Aquariuses are aliens, and the energy of Aquarius is forward thinking. It's humanitarian. It's the time when, like, all of these systems, whether it be religion, faith, spirituality, all of them are going to come together and they're all going to mean the same thing at the end of these next 20 years. And labels and how we label ourselves is not going to matter. It's not going to be a thing. And it's not, when I say that, I don't mean like, oh, it's not going to matter, meaning that it's not going to be important. It's not going to matter because we will just all exist, which is the point, which is the point. I always get in a lot of trouble with the LGBT community. As somebody in the LGBT community, I get in a lot of trouble with the queer community because I'm always the one who's like, I don't need people to put up a pride flag in order for me to feel really good about who I am. And I honestly, like, I work with a lot of, I like you, I work with a lot of queer people. And one of the things I tell people is like, if every day you wake up and you think, I am less than, and if that person does not have a flag up in their yard in June, then they don't like me. Then that is the energy that you are putting out. And the universal law of
Mm-hmm.
reflection states that whatever you put out is what's going to come back for you. And it's like, if you need validate, and trust me, this is coming from the queen of needed external validation. So, like, I can speak to this. The more you need other people to validate your experience, the less they are going to. Where the more that we can all, again, peace and freedom for yourself, stay in your own river, the less you're going to need that validation from others, which actually is going to make you get the confirmation from the outside world even more, right? It's like
Yeah.
anything that involves force has a lot less chance of survival than something that feels organic. But you can see why I get in a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah, no, I can see why you would, but I also think that the message is
But you're
powerful
a
of like
Scorpio rising, so you get it.
self-validating. No one
Right?
you need to be here for you as you.
Have to.
And then it is shocking how often like you decide that you're fine with whatever, quirk,
Yep.
etc.,
Yep.
identity, and
Yep.
then you just show up as I'm like, oh yeah, it's fine. You don't need it. And then you
Everyone's
do get
fine.
validated by other people, and you're like, where
Yeah.
was this 4 years ago when I
Yeah.
thought I needed the external? It's because, yeah, you,
Yeah, right. We moved from LA to Austin in 20, right? I was like about a year after my dad died. So
okay.
we moved to Austin, Texas, and everybody was like, "Are you're moving from LA? Like, aren't you afraid to live in Texas?" And I'm like, "No, because like my sexuality is actually the least interesting thing about me. And I've actually experienced more love and acceptance here than I did in some parts of LA because of in LA, everybody is so worried about other people that
Mm,
nobody's focused on themselves. And here I found that like people are focused on themselves and that's demonized. But the more that somebody is feeling okay with themselves, the more okay they are with everyone else around them. Where if you're just trying to look out for everyone else and you're not taking care of yourself, well, then somebody else doing okay is going to trigger the out of you because
right.
why do they get to be okay and I don't, and I'm the one trying to help other people. And it's like a lot of this we can come back to our human design for. It's like that bitterness or that frustration or that anger is actually just your not self theme depending on your human
Hmm.
design, right? Like if you're a projector, it's bitterness. If you're a manifester, it's anger. If you're a generator, a manifesting generator, it's frustration. And if you're a reflector, it's disappointment. We're not meant to feel those feelings. That doesn't mean that you're not going to. It just means when you do, something is out of alignment. So can you use these systems to really tap back into like your own alignment and get back to the way that you're meant to feel? And the answer is yes, if you're willing to follow your own intuition. And so when that comes,
I look
it
at that
works
very
the
much
same way in
like bumper
business.
lanes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it works the same way in business. Like you can over hustle and overwork and overdo all the things and be so miserable in business all the time. And there's a sign there, that frustration you're feeling, that bitterness you're feeling, that is literally the universe, God, source, whoever being like, hey, babe, something's off. Let's fix it. Let's get you back to feeling peace and freedom in your own body because
Hmm.
then you're going to be better for everyone else. And I think this is what's going to shift a lot in the next 2 decades for sure.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, I hope it happens soon. I'm like, can't force it. It's just going to happen naturally. I think Aquarius just has that effect on people. It brings people
Hmm.
together in a really beautiful way. So there's a lot of alchemy happening beneath the scenes right now. And, sometimes in order for alchemy, like I said, like my initiation with my dad dying, like some of the most
Right.
beautiful shifts we see as a collective are going to come through the most chaos. So, and if there's anything we know about our life right now as in the world, it's
It's
chaos
chaos.
is
Yeah, it's
reigning supreme.
chaos. Yes. I was listening to someone the other day that was talking about, if you don't like how things are right now, in order for things to change, they have to change. And
They have
people
to.
are stressed about change, but like you're not going to see a different
Hmm.
evolution of all of this unless this occurs and
Hmm.
it's different than it is now. Like it's inherent
Hmm.
to it. So let's just
Hmm.
maybe embrace some change, even
100%.
though it
Oh my
doesn't feel
gosh,
comfortable
embrace
right off
it.
the bat. Yeah.
Yeah, embrace it. And instead of letting fear take over, fear happens when you're outside of yourself, right? When you are tapped into yourself and you're fully feeling like a sovereign human, then fear doesn't get to you. It's like which seat are you going to let fear sit in? Are you going to let it sit in the driver's seat? You're going to let it sit in the passenger seat, or are you going to go make it take a nap in the back? Like my fear takes a nap in the back seat. Like
Yeah.
we're not doing that. But some people are letting it drive, and it's like, well, yeah, then everything that happens, it's going to, if your nervous system's already up here, every little thing is just going to like shock it even more. And the ability to like unplug and really come back to yourself, it's going to make your business better. It's going to make your life better. It's going to make your relationships better. It's going to make you a better parent, you know.
Absolutely. So we've touched on it. And like all of this, I think at the end of the day, the goal here is to just live a life that feels better, right? Live a personal life,
Mhm.
live a business life, like have a
Yeah.
business that you're not, feeling pigeonholed, forced into whatever we want to talk about here. But like, what happens? You get into business and you do, as one may, all the toxic hustle culture, girl boss, whatever we want to call it, right? And
Boss
girl
babe.
boss too close. Yep, yep. You girl boss babe too close to the sun. And you're
Yeah.
like, I am burnt the fuck out. I don't like any of this. I want to burn it all to the ground. But I feel stuck. Maybe we're relying on my income. I'm XYZ. I can't lose face. I can't, do
Mm.
like if someone here is listening, because I feel like I've been hearing this come up a bit right now, but if
Hmm.
someone's listening and they're like, oh God, that's me, that's me, where would you have them start?
So this is a great question. This is happening a lot in my world right now too. People are like, I just feel like I want to pivot. I just feel like I'm ready to stop girl bossing. I'm ready to like make money and not have it like suck the life out of me, right? But I don't know how to do that. I feel stuck. Okay, well, something's out of alignment. So the first thing I would definitely do is like learn your human design and learn your astrology.
Yeah.
Learn the big thing. So if you're looking at your human design, look at your type, look at your
Hmm.
authority, which is how you make decisions, and then look at your profile, which is your path in life. Okay, like look at those three things. And your astrology, look at your sun, look at your rising, look at your moon, look at your Mercury, which is how you communicate. So the sun is like yourself, your identity. Your rising is like how other people perceive you. It's your first impression. Your moon is your emotions. Mercury is how you communicate. Mars is how you get what you want. Venus is how you attract it. And Jupiter is how you get lucky, right? So you need to look at some of these placements. That's like step one. Step two is people are like, I don't understand. Like, if I want to pivot, this happened to me. This happened to me recently, actually. Like I'm in the middle of a big pivot. And
Hmm.
I wish I could tell you that if you're going to go pivot, AKA regulate your nervous system, that you're going to be able to just do that and like all the money, you're still going to make all the money. You're not. Like it's just like I wish there was a way to say that, but you're not because if you're nervous, if your current reality is existing based on these parameters,
Hmm.
that's what the matrix, this is that my program's called Break the Matrix. So this is like literally what I teach people to do. I'm
Hmm.
like, the matrix rewards you for staying plugged in. It will always reward you for staying plugged in. So, and it rewards you by getting your brain to release a very powerful chemical cocktail into your bloodstream of dopamine, cortisol, and adrenaline. So even though consciously you're like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I hate girl bossing so hard and burning out. I don't want to feel like this anymore. Your body is like, okay, great. Well, I'm addicted to the feeling I get when you do stay like that. So we're going to just stay here. And the only way to unplug from that is to truly unplug from that. So, yeah, your income, it's going to dip temporarily. Your health probably going to suffer temporarily. Like I always say, like, well, I'm like, I wrote something a couple weeks ago and I said, I didn't realize when I regulated my nervous system that I'd have to get fat. And like that was just like my own personal thing because like I'd been a fitness professional and a dancer my whole
Hmm.
life. I decided to quit SoulCycle and like regulate my hormones and my nervous system. My body had to soften. It
Hmm.
had to happen. So like I personally had to gain weight in order to regulate my nervous system. Now, some people that maybe have been, felt heavier than they want to their whole life because they're protecting themselves. When they
Right.
regulate their nervous system, the opposite will happen. But for me, it was like I had to gain weight. And like, this isn't a commentary on like body image
Yeah.
issues. This is just, I know how I want my body to feel and how I was used to my body to feel. And it did not feel like that anymore. In business, when I decided to pivot, like my income went like, woo, which is like scary when you have a 7-figure
Right.
business. Like I have people I pay. I have a lifestyle that I have. I have a home, I have a mortgage, I have a car, I have all these things that, you buy with your lifestyle. So when
Hmm.
your income dips, like, yeah, it's scary, but you can't just regulate your nervous system a little bit. You can't just listen to your human design a little bit. Like it doesn't work if you're like, oh, I'm a generator. I'm doing things that make me happy, but you're also not healing the part of you that has correlated happiness with like the praise you get for saying yes.
Hmm.
Doesn't work. So if you're going to make the change, if you feel stuck, you're probably not stuck. You're probably just not moving. So just take a step, trust the process. You have to like, you know, okay, a good metaphor. And I realize that you might be listening to this, but I want you to imagine like if you ever go skiing or if you ever go somewhere really cold and you wrap your hands around a pole, your hands are freezing. All you want to do is let go of that pole, but now your hands are frozen around it and it
Hmm.
hurts to let go. So even though you know that letting go is the right option, your brain is like, no, but that hurts because your fingers are now stuck and frozen in place. That's what's happening. You're in a functional freeze state. If you're in this, like, I've girl bossed too hard, I'm burnout, I'm in burnout, I'm in all these things, you're in a functional freeze state, which is essentially that like feeling of wrapping your hands around a cold pole. Or like you're sitting in a room that's, that meme that you see going around where it's like a dog sitting on a chair in a room and the
Yeah,
whole
with the
room's on
flames
fire.
everywhere.
And
Yeah.
it's like, this is fine.
Yeah.
That is a functional freeze state. And the only way out of that is to unplug. And it's going to feel like you're dying because, again, the matrix rewards you for staying plugged in. So the minute you unplug, these 3D things like money and praise and validation and self worth, they're going to be the first thing that feel like they're going out the window. But it's like you have to rewire your nervous system in order to be able to go, okay, I've taken money off the pedestal now. I
Hmm.
know that if I did it once, I can do it again. Okay. I have now disconnected from the idea that like I have to have like a rockin' six pack in order to be healthy. And in fact, being able to wake up and like actually get a good night's sleep at night, but also like waking up at a good time and like filling my body with nourishing foods instead of just surviving on like energy drinks and like, a snack, a protein bar. That's actually better for me. I'm eating better foods even if my body looks different temporarily, even if
Hmm.
my business looks different temporarily. So I would say if you're listening to this and you're like we have your number in this moment, you're not stuck. You're in a functional freeze state. Look at your human design, commit to honoring it, commit to like to incorporating it into your life and then realize and understand that your next move isn't going to feel comfortable. If it did, then it wouldn't be the right choice because your ego very much keeps you safe. We're not wired for expansion. I think that's what a lot of people forget. We're not wired for expansion. We're wired for safety. So
Hmm.
anything that's new, even if it is the right choice for you, is not safe because we've never done it. So your body is going to be like, no, 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 avoid it at all costs. So it's going to try to keep you plugged in to what's comfortable. And
Hmm.
you will continue to choose familiar chaos until you make the conscious decision to choose unfamiliar peace. And it's only when you choose unfamiliar peace that you can actually build the thing that is actually right for you to build, whether that be a business, a life, a relationship, etc., a family. So yeah.
I think that's probably one of my favorite sound bites from the whole thing is the familiar chaos versus the unfamiliar peace.
It's like, oh, it doesn't feel good, but like it's from it like I hate it, but I
I know
know it.
it. Yep. Yep.
And if I
I
know
don't,
it,
yep.
then it's safe. But it's
Yeah,
not
yep,
safe
that's less
because, like,
scary.
in the meantime, like you have cortisol levels out the roof. Your adrenaline has been high since, you have the cortisol levels of a cave woman running from a jungle cat. You probably have the progesterone or the estrogen of like a postmenopausal woman because like you've just been stuck in this like fight or flight state. And it's like we need sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, but so many people, I think especially entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs that come into entrepreneurship with their wounding because
Mhm.
entrepreneurship works really well for people with avoidant dismissive, like firstborn daughter, like hyperactive, I can do this, boss girl. It works really well for those
There's a
people.
lot of us in
Yeah,
entrepreneurship.
well, that's
Yep.
what we all come into it with. And then we realize,
Hmm.
like, oh, actually, it can work the other way too, but I have to do it. It's never, no one's ever just going to come in and be like, here's an easier business. No, no, you have to choose that, you have to choose that. And I think looking at your astrology, like for me, knowing, like, oh, okay, if it's not a full body yes, it's a no, and maybe it's not a full body yes. Okay, so now I can make better decisions. Even if it feels crazy in the moment, I
Hmm.
know that it's the right choice. Or, I can look at like, I used to beat myself up because I'm always changing. I'm always evolving. I'm always growing. I'm always becoming a different version of myself. Well, I have a stellium first house in Scorpio. Like I have Pluto, Mars, and my rising. So, like death and rebirth and transformation is literally who I am. And it's actually my greatest superpower. But I had to
Hmm.
heal the belief that that wasn't true first, right? Like I think it's just one of those things. Like I have Saturn in my second house, which is the house of money. I'm here to learn the lesson around managing my finances. I can't just throw caution to the wind. So the way that I invest has changed. The way that I
Hmm.
spend money has changed. And my astrology made that map really easy for me to go, oh, okay. So if I just like if I have a high limit and a low limit and I stay within those all the time, then my nervous system never has to be spiked around money. Great. Like, sign me up.
So much simpler. Yeah.
It's so much simpler. Yeah. And I'm just like not here to work any harder than I have to? So if there's a map I can look at to make it easier, why wouldn't I?
Why would we not?
Why
Yeah.
would we not? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, we're just gonna, go by Braille. It'll be fine. Drive as we go.
Yeah, I'm just going to stay blind and hope for the best. No, no, we're not doing that.
On the
We've
way.
done that. We've tried that and it doesn't work, you know? And I think this is a big shift that, the North Node, when the North Node was in Aries from
Mhm.
2023 till January of this year, the collective was in more of an I lead energy. So everyone, depending on no matter what your human design or astrology was, everyone was like throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying a lot, doing the most, being available, being out there. Like I know for me, I'm a 6'2" in human design. So I was like putting out a lot of authority content. I wanted everybody to know that I knew my shit, right? It got a little exhausting there at the end. And so then when the North Node shifted to Pisces, the collective shifted from an I lead to an I trust
Mhm.
energy. So everyone is experiencing this change, which is why art is coming more to the forefront again and like intuition and creativity and more, more intuitive conversations, collaborations, it's all coming to the surface because that's the collective shift. Remember that like what was it in business? It was called like master resale rights. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
So that happened right at, in 2023. So at the start of
Yeah.
the North Node in Aries, which was Aries is bold, unapologetic action, like go for it, do the thing. So that craze was supported by the cosmos to just take off like wildfire.
Hmm.
So then what happened is we had all these people on the internet teaching people how to make money on the internet who had actually never made money personally on the internet. And then we're wondering why we're all burning out and feeling like frauds and feeling like, I would have people come to me and they're like, I don't know why this isn't working. And I'm trying, my their bio says like, I teach moms how to make money on the internet, but like she had never made money on the internet. And I'm like, well, babe, you're living an inauthentic life. You're telling people that you do something that you've never personally done. Like that doesn't work. Like as soon as the north nodes, like the nodes started to shift, all of a sudden that craze died out. And like now you don't
Hmm.
really hear about it anymore. And now people, even I think like marketing online, there were so many coaches online that for the last couple years have only been making money based on telling people how much money they make?
Yes.
It
Yes.
worked, because
It
why does it
did.
work? Well, if I come on and I go, I made $62,000 today, buy this program and I'll teach you how. Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to make $62,000 today. So I'm going to go and buy that. Then tomorrow, that same coach comes on and I made $65,000 today. So, but, and so like on and on the cycle goes. But again, the nodes have shifted. We're now in the
Hmm.
Aquarian and the Piscean age. So people want more connection. They want more transparency. They want more empathy. They want, and class consciousness is really coming to the forefront again.
Hmm.
And so I think we're going to see a lot of those things start to shift too. I know you did not ask me for astrological predictions in
No,
business, but
I'm
those are them.
excited for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not going to work. Like, I think that anybody who is only building their business based on telling people how much money they make, it's just not going to work anymore. It's not bad. And I think that those people probably are making that much money. I think a lot of, yeah, there are people that lie, but I think for the most part, the
Right.
really big names, they really are making that much money. Like I know a lot of them. And I do think that like the collective is calling for something different
Yeah.
now, which is
I
great,
agree. Yeah.
which is going to feel so much better on all of our nervous systems.
I've been watching a very similar transition with it. Yeah, with online coaching, with um like I cannot, for me, it would be so difficult to try and sell something that I had not personally experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. That's our Scorpio. Not everybody feels that way. Like, I think sometimes the coaching industry kind of has that like dark Hollywood vibe a little bit where like
Hmm.
people will just
Hmm.
do whatever they can to make a dollar and
Yeah.
they'll say anything, they'll do anything. I think for us as like Scorpio risings, like that could never be us because authenticity is so important for us. And people are
Hmm.
always accusing us of not being authentic, even though like that's the only speed we have. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think that's probably why I think anybody that I know that has a lot of Scorpio in their chart or Aquarius, they're like, could never be me.
Yeah.
Could never be me.
That's wild.
So,
Okay. So, question for you. We're going to
yeah,
link all of the things, but if someone wants to learn more about you, if they want to stalk you on the internet in the most loving way possible,
please.
best spots to come hang out with you?
Yeah, so I'm Danielle underscore on the daily everywhere. So I'm on Instagram a lot. I'm on TikTok. If you want like a lot of long form astrology and human design content, I'm on TikTok and I do a lot of long form content over there. It still exists on Instagram. I built my business on Instagram, so I'm very present on Instagram, YouTube. You can watch my podcast. My podcast is called On the Daily. But you can also go to daniellemccleerey.com. That's my website. And I would say the best ways to like work with me would either be booking a reading. I will preface, I am not the most affordable when it comes to readings. However, I have trained a lot of people to be readers. So if my prices are too high, I'm always happy to recommend somebody. Or my program, Break the Matrix, which is basically everything we've been talking about and that
Yeah.
process in depth. But regardless, just come hang out on Instagram or TikTok and come say hi.
As long as it's around. Yeah. No, I'm excited for it. I'll have to go. I'm gonna go hang out more on TikTok. I haven't been on in forever. So
I
thank
wasn't on
you.
TikTok for the longest time. And then I just like
Fun.
had this moment where I was like, I'm a yapper and TikTok loves people who
They do
yap.
love yappers. Yep.
And if I can just go on and tell people about their like, I did a whole series of each rising sign and the wounding that
Yeah.
comes with each rising sign. And like that took off. And then I like read Heidi Montag and Spencer Pratt's charts and that took off. And like now
I'm gonna stalk the crap out of you just for that. I am so curious.
Oh yeah. I mean, his chart is charting right now. It's why he's having the success he's having. It's awesome. It's really, really cool. Yeah. Definitely come on TikTok if you like the long form content. Otherwise, just come hang out on Instagram. There's goodies everywhere and free content everywhere too. So
Amazing. Well, thank you. This was really fun.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. That's a wrap for this episode of the Wealth Witches podcast. I hope our magical money talks have left you feeling empowered and inspired. Remember, wealth isn't just about dollars in the bank, it's about abundance and financial freedom in all aspects of your life. I'm Katelyn Magnuson, encouraging you to keep challenging the status quo and embrace your inner witch on this financial journey. Until next time, stay magical.